Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today, my guest is Dennis J. Henson. Hey, Dennis.
Hi, Kimberly.
It is great to have you on. I am excited to hear all about your books and all the things you've been doing.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so just so people know you, I'm going to read your bio. So, Dennis J. Henson has a career of singular achievement, currently the founder and president of Vanguard Marketing Investments and a renowned leader and educator in both the real estate and personal growth industries. He was stumped for a moment when a podcast host asked him, if you could name the one thing that's had the greatest impact on your students, what would it be? And then it became clear to him, form the habit of reading something every day that educates or inspires them just as he personally has done for a lifetime, and that is the core of the philosophy that he has used to inspire thousands of other business people and leaders who desire more out of life. It has led to his profound new book, Real Impact Daily Inspiration. All right, so I would love to hear your story. Tell me about you.
Well, I was not a good student in high school. I only cared about playing football, and I didn't like to read. I didn't like to go to class. I had dyslexia. I was hyperactive. The teachers were not very happy with me. I was, kind of always getting into trouble. So when it came time to play football, to actually go and play, I signed up the first day, and my father showed up. Well, I had never seen my father at school. I thought something must be wrong. And he came and took me off the football field, handed the helmet to the coach, and said, Dennis won't be playing football. So I was just too small. He was afraid I would get hurt. So I joined the band, played the drums. So one day a college band came and played a concert, and I thought that's great. I don't have to go to class. I enjoy this. And at the end of the concert, which was a little bit boring, the band director said, we brought a treat. We brought our marching drum section to put on a little show. And they put on a show. I mean, it just blew my mind. It changed my life. All at one time, everything changed. So I went to my band director and said, I want to be in that drum section. How can I do that? He laughed and he says, well, first of all, you're going to have to start studying because they're not going to let you into college unless you have good grades. So that really changed everything. That's when I started studying. I took books home. I went to class. I talked to the teacher. And after about 3 more years, I was accepted into college and got to be a member of that band and that drum section. Eventually, I became the section leader of the Marching Southerners drum section, who's still really a great drum section. And after that, I became a band director. So I wanted to be a college band director. That was my goal. I thought, well, college kids are much more, they pay attention. They want it to be better than high school kids, and you don't have to deal with the parents. So when Georgia Tech asked me to come be the band director at Georgia Tech, I moved to Atlanta, and the phone rang. I was staying with a friend, and the phone rang, and he said, "It's for you." So since our band had marched in the Rose Bowl parade, this company, a big company, called and said, we want to hire you. And I said, no, 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 I've got my life dream. I'm going to tomorrow. I'm going to be the band director at Georgia Tech. So he says, well, let me fly you to Memphis and buy you a steak and talk to you about this. Well, I wasn't going to turn down a free trip, and a steak. So I said, I want, you're not going to hire me. But anyway, I got in the plane, I went there, and they offered me 20 times the salary that Georgia Tech was going to give me. And I took it because I was just a young kid and I never had any money. And the prospect of having money was something wonderful. So I took position. I bought a house. I bought a car. I got married. I had all the toys. Everybody, whatever want to have. And during that time, I saw this commercial on TV about real estate investing. And I thought, that would really be a lot of fun. And I don't really like working for other people. I think I'll try to do that. So to make a long story short, I started investing in real estate. That was back in 1975 or something. I'd already done some real estate investing in the 70s. The very first real estate investment I had, I moved out of a mobile home into a home, and I thought, well, I'll just rent the mobile home out. So a family came by, they gave me a check for $300, and they moved into my mobile home, and I never saw them again. They never paid me any more money, and that check bounced. And I thought, I'm not much of a landlord. I'm never going to do this again. But 5 years later, I saw another commercial, and I thought, well, maybe I'll give it another try. And so ever since then, I've been investing in real estate. The first day I went into that new position, it was Henco Incorporated, they gave me 3 books. They gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich, Success, the Glenn Bland Method, and The Greatest Salesman in the World. And so when I read those books, I got so excited. I thought, man, they're saying I can do whatever I want to do. I can make how much ever I want to make. And so I went out that year and I made so much money, I didn't even know what to do with the money I was making. So at that point, I realized this reading thing really can get you motivated. So I started collecting poems and short stories and quotes, and that was in 75. So next year will be 50 years that I've been doing that. I ran into Jim Rohn at one of a sales conference, and he talked about journaling. Jim Rohn was really big on journaling. He said, write everything down because you forget if you don't. One of these days you'll want to know. So I kept a written record. There wasn't computers in 75. If you wanted to keep something, you had to write it. You couldn't save it on the cloud. You had to write it down. So for 40-something years, 45 years, I did that. So one day, like you said, after I had a long career in business and I'd started teaching real estate investing back in 2005, I had some really successful students, more successful than me. I was a better teacher than I was an investor. So because of that, real estate groups would call me to be speaker or be on their podcast. And so one day, a podcaster did ask me, well, Dennis, what's one thing that you tell your students that makes them better than all of the other students? They're so successful. What's that one thing? And I said, well, they need to form success habits. And he says, well, what's the one habit? If you could just pick one, what's the one habit that will move my audience further than anything else? And I said, well, it's form the habit of reading something every day that moves you towards your goal. If you want to be an attorney, you read about the law. If you want to be a doctor, you read about medicine. If you want to be a real estate investor, you read about real estate. Whatever it is, whatever your goal is, if you want to travel, read about traveling. So after that podcast, I thought, that was a great answer. I did pretty good. That's a good answer. Wouldn't it be great if there were a tool of some kind to help people form the habit of reading every day, make it easy for them? And then I thought, wait a minute, I've been collecting motivational stories from my students. I've been collecting poems, powerful poems, and quotes for 50 years. I can put those all together in a book. And then if someone wants to form the habit, if they have 5 minutes, they can read a poem. If they get home and they're exhausted right before bed and they think, oh, I forgot to read, they can read a quote. And if they're at the airport and they have an hour, they can read a couple of short stories, or in the back of the book, I put a list of the books that helped me the most. There's about 100 of them, and I'll put them in priority order. So if you take one of the books, you take the first book and put it with this book, and you keep it with you. If you have a 3-hour chunk of time, you can read in that book. Now, this is life-changing. I've watched student after student. The very first part of this book, not a testimonial about the book, it's a testimonial about how the training changed their life. It's just page after page of students who are super successful. I mean, multimillionaires saying, well, if you do what he says, your life is going to change, which, it's not that I'm that smart. It's just I've been looking for success habits for 50 years. If you do that, you're going to find a few. And so that's what makes this special. And that's why I'm here today.
That is beautiful. That is a wonderful testament because, so many people start out like you did, where school is difficult.
Yes.
School is very difficult, and, they have to really think to apply themselves to even make it work. And so, first of all, that book work, well, gosh, you can read one sentence, right? You can at least read one sentence, a quote.
That's right. And it keeps your habit. The hard thing about a habit is if you don't do it every single day, you lose your habit.
Mhm.
And everybody's busy. Some people don't have an hour or 15 or even 20 minutes to read. Although Zig Ziglar said, little by little, little things add up. If you can just read 20 minutes every day on a 200-page book, this is still Zig Ziglar. In a year, you would have read 20 books, which is 19 more than the average person, which sets you apart. Well, I give you the books to read. If you want to read 20 minutes every day, you go to the list in the back of the Real Impact book. I don't know. Can you see that?
Mm.
It's a list that's so powerful. One of the reviews I got on Amazon, the guy gave me 5 stars for the books in the back. He said, the books are so good. And they are. They're really, I mean, you couldn't pay somebody to read for 45 years and keep a list of the best books and prioritize them, say, start here and move down. What would that cost? It would be expensive.
It would be really expensive.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'm just curious, when you back to your history, when you were given that chance to be at Georgia Tech as the band director, and then they recruited you. What did they recruit you for, and how did they know about you to recruit you?
Well, first of all, I was the drum major at Jacksonville State University. And you're from the Southeast. You've probably heard of Jacksonville State. They got a great band. And back then, they only had one drum major. I think now they have 2 or 3 and maybe 4. But being the drum major at Jacksonville State is kind of like being a politician. Everybody knows you in Alabama, North Alabama, and Northwest Georgia. So I was in demand as a band director, and I got one of the best band jobs in the state of Georgia, it was Athens High School, which became Clark Central High School in Athens. I mean, they had thousands of people in the school, and most of the kids took private lessons from the college. That's where the University of Georgia is. So we had a good band, and we went and marched in the Rose Bowl parade. Not many bands get to do that. So that's how they heard about it. And I had some friends that worked in that company. And so they recruited me to go out and call on band directors and coaches because I already had a reputation. When I walked in, a lot of them knew who I was already, and it made it really easy to get in the door and make the presentation. And the company had a good reputation. So it all just blended together to make it easy. And it was a lot of fun. It was like you set this goal for how many units that you want to have, and you go out and you try to reach the goal, and that's fine. I mean, life is fun if you've got a goal and you're moving toward it every single day a little bit closer. That makes it, I mean, there's no work involved. As long as you're pursuing a goal and having fun, that's not work. Other people may look at it and think, wow, you're at your office 7 days a week. You know, what's going on? Aren't you tired? Well, no, you don't get tired. You're having fun. You know, you're getting happy.
That is the secret to life right there, having fun no matter what you're doing.
That's right. You need to love what you're doing.
Exactly. And then when you finally did get into real estate, and obviously they were having you teach, but were you doing residential real estate? Were you doing commercial real estate?
Single family homes. I pretty much stuck with single family because everybody needs a place to live. You see these things on TV, and these advertisements say gold will never be worthless or has never been worthless. Silver and gold. Well, it's not been around as long as shelter. Shelter was the first thing. That was the very first thing when I guess people crawled up on the beach. You watch the survivor shows, they have to have shelter because if it rains that night, they're done. Their fire's going to go out and they're not going to have any, they're going to freeze to death. So I always thought it's the ultimate product. It's always needed, and as we have more people, you need more and more and more. And the value always goes up. I mean, sometimes it drops, but if you look over pretty much any 15-year period, you're going to see that real estate has increased in value all the way back to as long as they've been keeping records. It continues to increase. They're not making any more of it, but they are making more people. So that increases the value. Plus, I don't know of anything else where so many people work for you for free. There's whole industries set up to help real estate investors. There's realtors and title companies, mortgage companies. I mean, the list goes on, and all of those people, you just put them on your list and you give them tasks to do. They don't ever charge you. Somebody else pays them. That's a pretty good deal. So I still enjoy real estate, and you can borrow the money to buy the property, and then it pays for itself. Now, you can't borrow money to buy gold. Nobody's going to loan you money to buy precious metals or jewelry because it doesn't produce any income. But real estate, you can borrow the money to buy and fix up the property and then rent it, and the renters pay the note. Wow, that's a pretty good deal. So I've done very well. I wish I had done as good as some of my students, because some of them, I mean, their stories. I've got students that are retired and they're just barely over 30 years old. They've made so much money, they're living off of what they're making. It's it's amazing. But if you do, I mean, if you can form the habits of success, if you can find a mentor that can tell you what those success habits. Early on in my career, I had several mentors, and I dedicated this book to them. So I sent the book to each one of them. One of them is Tom Hendricks. He's one of the most successful businessmen in Tennessee. They're naming a building in Tennessee Martin. They're naming a building after him. That's how popular he is. So I sent him the book, and he wrote me a 4-page letter saying how much he loved the book and that it was going to be a super success. And that really made me feel like, it made me feel great, because he's one of the most respected people I've ever met. So I was really thrilled with that. And then I also heard I'm listening every day when I walk. I walk every day and I listen in addition to reading. And this guy said he worked with a lot of authors, and in an interview, someone said, well, what's the one thing that all successful authors have in common? And he said, they believe in their book. They have a strong belief that their book is going to succeed. And I thought, well, I got that. Maybe my book's going to be a super success. And I really believe it will. I believe that, someday it's going to be on people's lists. Read this book because it'll move you in the right direction.
Exactly. So if you were going to advise young people today, what are the top 5 habits or things would you tell them to do? Of course, read every day.
Well, I think one thing that people need to start thinking about early on is their personal health, their financial health, their education. How many is that? 3, 4? I don't know if I can come up with 5,
That's
but their spiritual health, and they need to take each one of these and make plans, and they make goals and plans for each one of those, and then combine them all together, because you're only one person. I teach my students to make a master list. So anything that comes into their mind, they capture it immediately and put it on the master list. Then at a certain time, they go and look at the list and they say, well, my secretary can do this one. My assistant can do this one. The banker can do that. And you try to get everything off your list and have someone do it that can do it better and faster and cheaper than you, which only leaves the really, really important things that you have to do yourself. And then you prioritize those and do the most important one first. That way you're always working on the most important thing. So that's another success habit. I guess that would be the 5th one. Is there's a book called Getting Things Done. It's on my list. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful book that tells you how to organize your life and how to get the things that you want done and get them done where other people are struggling, trying to decide what to do with using that system. It's the same as my system. It was just by accident. That you have an organized way to move forward toward every single goal. But I think the most important one is educate yourself. You can always get someone else to do the work, but you just need to have the education. And that's why CEOs get paid so much. They don't do anything other than manage. The higher you are in the organization, the less work you do and the more managing you do. So the person at the top is delegating. You do this, you do this, you do this, and then they go play golf. And get paid millions and millions of dollars.
That's beautiful. So how is your book organized? Is it organized like with longer passages in one place and quotes? And how is it organized?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. At the beginning of the book is long, short stories. Well, actually, the first thing in the book says how to use the book. So you need to read that. And then there's long, short stories. And then there's short stories. Then there's poems. Now, these are not just I didn't go out and just grab some poems. These are poems that I've heard over 45 years. And I thought, oh, that's so good. I'm going to come back because I do speaking. I've spoken in several countries and I've had large groups, and I'm always looking for things to say. And so the poems give me things to say or cause me to think of something that I could talk about. And then following that is the quotes. There's this page. I bet you there's probably 30 pages of quotes. And they're not just any quote. They're quotes that they had such an impact on me that I stopped what I was doing and wrote them down over the years. And then after that is the list of books in priority order. There's probably a couple of hundred books. And then after that is, once you've read all these books, you're not done. It's suggestions, read about these people, read these biographies, read about these different kind of things, space and geography. There's enough in here to keep you reading for the rest of your life. It would never end. It'd be a companion, which is great. A grandparent can give this. I have the hardcover here. This hardcover, I went all out on this one. It is so beautiful. The pages are made. I was at one time in my life in the printing business, and I learned about the different kind of paper. This has the finest paper that you can have. The ink and the formatting is perfect. I went out and had an artist do drawings for the book. The cover and the binding is the best on the market. So if you give this book to someone, a grandchild or someone who's graduating from college, they'll keep it forever. I know this is true because I have a book right over here on my bookshelf that someone gave me back in 1980. I don't even remember who the person, it had a nice thing, thank you for helping me get my business going. And I've kept it all these years. People don't throw a nice book away. No, they'll put it on their bookshelf and they'll keep it. A grandparent can give it to a grandchild, and that child will remember them for 50 more years. What could be better? Or what do you give a young man that's 18 years old for graduation or 23? What do you give them? Well, you give them this, it'll change their life, and they'll keep it and cherish it for a long time, and they'll appreciate it. Or when you have a wedding, what do you give to the groomsmen? You ever been involved with a wedding? It's a hard choice. What do you give the groomsmen? What do men that are 25, 27, 20, what do they want? You're not going to give them a rifle or some shells. I mean, that's what they want, but you give them this, and it'll help them in their business. It'll help them in planning out what they're going to do and make them more successful. So I do want to mention, though, before we get too much further, that I have a gift for everyone who's watching. If you go to realimpactbook.com and scroll down to the bottom, it says podcast attendees. You click on that and we'll send you a book. We'll send you the ebook. And I hope that you'll do this, because the more people that get the ebook, they'll read and say, oh, I've got to have this. So it does help sell the book. But the ebook's free. There's no obligation. We're not going to put you on a list and send you something every day. We're just going to send you the book, because the more of these books I can give away, the ebooks, then I know the more that people are going to use them for gifts and want to give them to their friends. Not only that, this is a fun book to read. It has mysteries in it. Have you ever read or went to a movie, and by the end you realized this was a mystery? I didn't know. And then all of a sudden they give you the punchline, and you thought, if I'd have known this was a mystery, I would have been following the clues. Well, I'm telling you, when you get this book, you better be careful, because those short stories, a lot of them are mysteries. And when you hit the end and you realize, oh my goodness, it'll knock you over. There's stories in here, I've read them at least 1,000 times. I mean, when you're writing a book, you go over it and over it, change it, and then you have to proofread it. The proofreader sends it back. You have to read it again. It's formatted, and you have to read it again. And you go on and on. You read them 1,000 times. These stories are so powerful. I still read them, and tears roll down my cheek. Now, that's a powerful story. It seems like you get immune to it after a while, but no. There's a story in there about a little girl's goal. And I always ask people, have you read it? And if they say yes, I say, well, what'd you do? And they said, I cried. My wife is my wife's name's Norma. She's a Mexican. She's tough as nails. I mean, nothing ever affects her. She's a tough. And I gave her the book, and my dog is joining us. I gave her the book, and I said, help me read this. And the next day I said, did you read it? And she said, no, I can't read it. I said, why? She said, I can't stop crying. I read The Little Girl's Gold. I can't stop crying. So she didn't want to read anymore. She said, this is just too impactful. So the stories were written. When I started the book, I had probably 100 stories. Well, there wasn't room in the book for 100. So I had to narrow it down. I think there's about 43 now. I had to take a bunch of them out. And the ones I kept were the ones that were so powerful that they brought tears to my eyes. That was, if they brought tears to my eyes, they went in the book. If they didn't, I kept them for another book or for something later on. So it's not just a normal book. It's not meant to be read. You don't want to pick this book up and read it from beginning to end. That's not how it was meant to be. It's meant to be sipped like fine wine. You read a little bit until it really inspires you, and then you meditate on what you just learned, or how it's affected you. If you use it that way, you'll find it's a very impactful instrument.
Oh, that sounds like it's such a powerful tool.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, and you said, well, you were asking me what people could do. Well, the first thing they need to do is go to realimpactbook.com, and there you can find the different ways you can get the ebook, you can get the audio book, you get the ebook's free, you can get the soft cover, the hardcover, you can get the audio book, and then we're also doing an app. It's not available right now, but it's in the works. So there are other things to support this theory that you can get at the Shopify store if you decide that you like this and you want it to change your life. Then there's things that will help you do that.
All right. Well, that is amazing. And I know so many people are going to love that book. And it's, like you said, it's a great gift. So, holidays coming up, that's a great gift, or graduations for people, or anybody that you just really want to inspire. I mean, I'm thinking about even, mental health, where, people are, sometimes you just need a pick me up, and to
Oh,
read a
yes.
story that's that impactful.
That's it. One of the reviews on Amazon, the lady said in the review, this came at just the right time. My business was having problems. She just went over the problems and she said, this is what I needed. So it's a pick me up. And the stories are about people that everybody knows, but you would never have imagined what they went through to get where they are.
Mhm.
So this is a great gift for someone in a nursing home. They're sitting there with nothing to do. They can read these stories and they know these people.
Mhm.
And then the people in the nursing home may think, well, this is great for my grandson or my daughter. It's a legacy gift.
Mhm.
It's a great legacy gift. But it's also a good gift for a young person to give to an older person, because it's a feel good. It makes you feel good because you live through these struggles with these people where they just get knocked down over and over, and they just kept getting up until finally the breakthrough came. And then it's somebody that we know, everybody knows, and you, my gosh, I never knew they went through all of that. We would have never known them had they just not got up any one of those times. So it's exciting. It's a one. I still go back and read it myself, and I've read them thousands of times. But they're interesting stories.
Yeah. So now I have a personal question for you.
Okay.
What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Oh well, my wife, my dog. Look, if you ever feel bad, or if you're going through a depressed time, there's a trick. that could stop that instantly. You can't be depressed and grateful at the same time. So I have this list that I read every morning. You know, I go through my grateful list because there's so much to be grateful for. You know, I almost died in 2018. I had a, you know, severe stroke, and it affected me greatly. So when I came out, my goal was I'm going to get well. I'm going to beat this, and I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to be able to walk again. I'm going to be able to see. I'm going to be able to use my hands and my feet. Nobody's going to even know I had a stroke. That's not good. That's not me. And it took years of struggle to get back, but now I'm a very healthy person. I work hard. I still have a big staff and a nice business. So the thing that makes me really feel better than anything else, though, is for people to appreciate me, what I've done for them. My students come in, I still have them come all the time or call me and they say, "Oh, Dennis, you just changed my life. Things are so wonderful." When they say that, that really makes me feel good. Or if I look every day for the reviews on my book, and if somebody gives me a 5-star review, I can't wait to read it. Oh boy, you know, these people got it. And the people that don't give me the 5 stars, they give me 4 or 3. They don't understand. They're reading the book. That's not what the book's for. It's not for reading. It's for helping you think of something positive and meditate on it. There's a ritual that monks in the 3rd and 4th century created. It's trying to think of the name of it. It's like lector divine or something like that. It means it's about reading something and contemplating it. It was about the scripture. So what they wanted, you'd read a scripture, you'd read it out loud, you'd think about it. Well, you'd read it, then you'd think about it, then you'd read it out loud, and then you'd meditate on it. And so they broke it over the years, it became 2 different things, monistic and scholastic. Well, the scholastic kind of took the religion away from it, and now it's reading and contemplating other things, which is exactly what this was. So I was on a podcast. It seems like things happen to me during podcast, and this host told me about that, and I looked it up, and I thought, wow, this was created in the 3rd century, and it's pretty much the same thing I'm saying to do now, you know, in modern times. And I've given you the tool to do it, or you could still use the Bible, I guess. It's a Latin phrase. You'll have to just look it up. I'm not versed in Latin, obviously.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on today and for sharing your book and your wisdom.
Well, thanks for having me. I can't believe that it's coming to an end this quickly.
I know, it's been fun. You see? So I have one last question before we finish.
Okay.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Well, get the book and form the habit of reading every day. That's really true. Yeah, you know, it sounds like I'm just promoting the book, but it really is true. Make a goal, and whatever it is that you want in life, if you're moving toward that goal every single day, you're going to be happy. You know, you're going to get knocked down. When I was writing the book, I had several things I wanted to make an underlying theme. And so I live in Arlington, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So our airport is a DFW, and then Arlington is an A. So I think DFWA. The first thing is desire. If you have a burning desire, that's the first step toward happiness. The F is faith. You have to believe that you're going to get what it is that you're desiring. The W is will, because you're going to get knocked down. There's always going to be things in the way, stepping stones, I call them. But if you have a strong enough will, you're going to always get up. The stories in the book show that. You just, no matter how hard you're knocked down, you're going to get up. And then the A is action, because nothing works without the action. So the underlying theme of the book, and also in Think and Grow Rich and the other books that I have put in here, that's the underlying theme. A burning desire will make you happy as long as you're moving toward that, and nothing can stop you. Then you're going to have a happy life. You know, even people who are confined to wheelchairs can still do this. I've known of real estate investors. I have one of my students, before he passed away, he lost his eyesight. Okay. His last year alive, he bought 67 homes and rehabbed them. Blind. He was blind. So, and he was happy. You know, it's amazing how that works, and anybody can do it. It's a pretty simple formula.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dennis.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Kimberly. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Hope everybody will go get their free book, and I hope they'll consider buying one.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.